What's good, y'all? It's your boy Josh Showtime, and this is Showtime Fight Forum, where we talk all things fights. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, all that good stuff. Now, I might be bragging just a wee bit. I'm gonna brag a little today. Why? Why, Josh? Hey, Josh, why would you brag today? Oh, because your boy was 5-0 today, all right? 5 and freaking, let's go. This is what we here for. Try to tell y'all, man, look, I'm here for this. Now, if once again, you made some money off me, Cash App at Showtime saying, send me a little something. If I take $5, $15,000, whatever it is that y'all willing to get. But let's get right into it, y'all, okay? So my overall record now is 17-7-1, and I'm happy about it. Now, I did do 6 fights this time, and I'm only saying 5-0 because obviously the one fight that I did judge from the prelims, coincidentally was the one that was a no contest. Granted, I'm kind of happy it was a no contest because it wasn't kind of looking good for me. I was going to end up being 5-1, it looked like, but you never know. Chris Curtis got power. Now, let's talk about that fight real quick. So Imavov versus Chris Curtis. Curtis had a really tough time with this fight. He did not, I'm not gonna say he looked bad. He didn't look bad, but Imavov looked way better. He looked way more comfortable on the feet, and he was more versatile on the feet. And it seemed like Chris was having a hard time getting in range. So he was getting picked off just a little bit during that fight. And it's unfortunate with the headbutts. He's clearly pissed about it. But at the same time, sometimes he does lead with his head, which causes the collisions. Sucks that happened for both fighters. I know it's unfortunate. Hopefully they can run it back, or, actually, yeah, they should probably run it back. But I think Chris Curtis has a lot to learn with that fight because he had a hard time closing that distance, and that length was bothering him a little bit, I saw. Now, let's get into the main card and let's talk about the fights on the main card. Side note, Miranda Maverick, I mean, that was not a good performance. That was pretty bad. And I'm glad I didn't really do a breakdown of that fight, but yeah, that was not a good, bro. Like, you need to step it up, or you about to be on the LFC or whatever they call it, Invicta. Yeah, that's gonna be your next stop if you don't stop playing. But the first fight we're gonna really talk about is gonna be Eric Andres versus Mark. All right, Mark Benoit. So I called it right. I said that Mark will win, and it was probably one of the best fights on the main card. It was a really good fight. It was real action packed. Both guys hurt each other. Eric, honestly, like, for a person that was getting picked off as much as Anders was, he was still landing some good shots. But the thing I noticed the most was Mark was very constant with the same combination that constantly kept landing. And at the end of the day, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, keep throwing it. Which was, he would constantly go for the leg kick, and then he would fire off a left hook right after. And it would land flush every single time. The first one hurt him. Hurt Anders very badly. But he still was getting caught with it throughout the entire fight. But yet and still, man, like, Anders lost that fight completely. Like, it doesn't matter if it was the grappling department, if it was the stand-up department. He was just a little behind. Fun fight. It was a very entertaining fight, but, Mark clearly won that fight. But I like the confidence that Anders had, and I think this is a fight that he could definitely grow from. All right, so it was a pretty good fight. Oh, and overall with this card, I'll talk about that after the fact. But then let's talk about the next fight. The next fight was Nate Landwehr and Dan Ige. Now, that was the fight that everybody, including me, was saying that if Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush was not the main event, but the fight of the night, this would be the fight of the night. And I would say that it wasn't. I mean, it was pretty obvious it was not the best fight. And it was pretty much a one-sided fight for the most part. Yes, Nate won that last round, but I felt like Dan Ige kind of took that round off because it was a clear cut. He won. He was winning this fight. He just didn't need to get beat on or finished. And Dan Ige looked good, but we knew what I would say. I was leaning off just the power, and that's what I was saying. I said that both are action-oriented fighters. However, Nate doesn't have the power that Dan has. And if you're gonna have a firefight, which I thought it was gonna be, and it didn't turn out to be that way, I thought I'm always gonna go, if it's gonna be a brawl, I'm gonna go with the guy that has the hardest punch. And also the better chin. Not to say that either one has bad chins, but I know Dan has a good chin, and I also know that he packs a lot more power than Nate did. And the power was the big difference maker in this fight. I mean, he stunned Nate twice very badly. And I mean, it was a clear-cut win for Dan Ige. And it was a great fight, really good fight. And this is a fight where Nate had a lot to learn from, and at the same time, I don't feel like his stock hasn't dropped a lot. I'm not sitting here saying like, I never thought he was a championship fighter to begin with. I saw his style and I was like, he's gonna be a guy that can be in the top 15 and get a bunch of fun fights, possibly make a run, but I don't see him as a championship caliber fighter. And yet, and still, this is kind of still what I think. I think that he could be in a lot of fights. I think he could beat tough guys. I just don't think that he's ever gonna be at the top of the crop. And I believe he's like, what, 35 or something? Like, he's pretty, he might not be 35, but he looks 35. But he just seems a little older. I have to check the exact age, but I think he's older, so his time is now anyways. But yet and still, like, he's a very entertaining fighter. I'm excited for his next fight. Danny Gales, a great, solid win. And, you know, look forward to your next fight. Now, the next fight after that was pretty much, it was not a shutout, but it was Mike Mallet versus Adam. I said Fugit, and that's not really how you say his name. I think it's Fugit. It's not that either. I don't know. It's Adam. We're just gonna call him that because I don't want to butcher this man's last name. Yet and still, though, Mike dominated this fight. This fight was pure domination. It doesn't matter if it was on the feet. Obviously, in the grappling department, to submit him, it was I ain't gonna say a beating, but it was a one-sided show. And Mike looked good. I mean, he was in Canada, his hometown, not hometown, home country, and he showed off, and he showed a very good performance. This guy is gonna be tough. His guy's gonna be tough. I think that he's very, very well balanced. He showed that his striking capabilities he's very light on his feet. He can throw really good kicks, and at the end of the day, he also showed that he has good submissions. So, you know, a guy like that in any division always will be a tough competitor. Now, we have to obviously have a step up in competition because Adam's not obviously a elite fighter, top 15 fighter, anything like that. But it was a solid challenge, and it was a smart to put him before the co-main because at the end of the day, you're in Canada. This guy had a good record, and I said this before. This was a fight that I felt was to build him up anyway, so might as well put him right before the co-main. Now, let's talk about my guy. My guy, Du Bronx, Charles Oliveira. I say this all the time, man. Like, I don't care what people say about, oh, well, you know, when you're in the media, this, that, and the third, you can't have favorites and this, that, and the third. Listen, man, y'all can say that all you want. I don't care. I'm one of the people who I will have favorites, but I'm not biased towards my favorites. Only thing I'm ever biased towards when it comes to sports is my Carolina Panthers. If it's not Carolina Panthers related, I'm not really biased. You're just my favorite. Charles Oliveira is my favorite fighter in the game right now. He's one of my top 3 favorite fighters ever. And I love his story and things of that nature. Now, even with that being said, I picked him to lose multiple fights throughout his championship run. So it's not like I'm one of those, oh yeah, I always think he's gonna win. No, I am one of those guys that know, as exciting as Charles is, he is by far the most vulnerable champion that will exist. Why? It's because his style is so risky. Simple and plain. Yes, he's very offensive oriented, but that's the same reason why it's hard to trust him because he also gets caught. He gets caught in submissions. He gets caught in punches and kicks. So it's honestly, it's a gamble. You never know with Charles Oliveira, which is amazing that he's able to get these streaks. Because like I said, he's just so offense oriented. He leaves himself open to so much stuff. But yet and still, like talking about the fight in itself, I figured, like I said before, this is a fight where both guys have different avenues of winning, and this is a very hard fight to predict. I knew if it was going to go more so the finish route, that it would go Charles Oliveira. You just look at his track record. It's either kill or be killed. He does a lot of killing. And Beneil Dariush doesn't have many holes everywhere. I mean, he doesn't really have many holes anywhere. However, Charles Oliveira, in my opinion, just a little better everywhere. All right, maybe not in the wrestling department, but in the grappling department, a little better, I'm gonna go Charles. And in the striking department, I'm gonna go a little better with Charles Oliveira. When it comes to the chin, I'm gonna go a little better with Charles Oliveira. And that's one thing people don't like to really pay attention to, which is Charles Oliveira has one of the best chins, like in the division. Like his chin is super solid. And the reason why I'll say this is, yes, he gets rocked all the time. We've never seen him flatline KO'd. We've seen him dropped multiple times, but no one can knock this dude out completely. Even the fights that he was quote unquote KO'd, you look at the Cub Swanson fight. That man was not asleep. He got hurt and then he fell. And then he just stopped fighting. Like he was fully conscious. And it was one of those joints where everybody was just saying he's a quitter. Like that's how weird that knockout was. It was like, all right, he's quitting. He's not. He's hurt, but come on, bro. Like, you're not knocked out. You could have very well survived. And now when he gets dropped just like that Cub Swanson, what does he do? Gets right back up. He literally just, he'll go pull guard. He'll say, all right, come in. And if not, I'm going to get up. And that's why he messed up with Islam. And we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so like I said, his chin is very solid. Beneil Dariush has been slept multiple times, like knocked out cold. And I just, and also he's been submitted as well. So I knew this would be a tough fight for both guys, but I just felt like Charles was just better. And he proved it. At the end of the day, this was a fight where I felt like he was trying different stuff. I think he knew Beneil Dariush is a good test to a person of fighting a person of caliber of Islam. And what I mean by that is, if you look at Beneil Dariush's run, Beneil Dariush has been very wrestling oriented. He can and he will strike. And he, just like in his last fight, he did strike. But that's because he fought a wrestler. But he's been, for the most part, he's been using a lot of his grappling to secure and win a lot of these fights. And I knew that Charles Oliveira would know that Beneil will try to wrestle him, or he will at least get him down, and he has really good top guard. So this is a good way to kind of manage getting a person that loves to also grapple and has really good top guard, and that can actually, you know, land some punches and solid ground and pound and things of that nature. And let's see what works. Let's see if I can get submissions. Let's see if I can get up. And he went for a takedown, failed on the takedown. Then he said, all right, I'll pull guard. Let's try to get these submissions going. It didn't work. Like, Beneil Dariush is very solid on the ground. It didn't work at all. It was not really in too much danger. And he landed some okay ground and pound, but Charles Oliveira is really good at avoiding damage on bottom. That, like, he's just so action oriented on the bottom, that's hard for you to get your offense on. And even when you aren't able to, he's able to cover up really well and roll with the punches. And he's only able to do that for like a good round or two. After that, he's tired, and then you can honestly wail on him. But he knew eventually something clicked in and was like, all right, this isn't working. Let me just get up. And he did. And I thought that was very, very different towards his last fight in Islam, where he just stayed in guard. Some of that may have to do with Islam not letting him do it, but I think a good portion of it also was that Charles was just comfortable. He's a ground guy, man. He was comfortable, and he didn't get up. And then after that, action-packed, let's get this cracking. That jab to the kick was sneaky, 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 sneaky. Caught Beneil, and obviously we already know, like, when it comes to when you're hurt, the worst person you want to fight if you're hurt is Charles Oliveira. There's no fighter in UFC history that will capitalize on a person being hurt more than Charles Oliveira. His jiu-jitsu is just too good where he can just submit you no matter what, because you're already dazed. He's gonna catch you on something. Or he just has the knockout power. He can literally just sleep you. He's one of the most underrated punchers in UFC today. He punches extremely hard. He is stunning these guys. Look at his track record. He is hurting everyone he's fighting. Yes, he has a lot of submission wins. Look at a lot of those submissions. Look how he got those submissions. A lot of these submissions that he had wasn't just because he was on the ground. It's because he hurt these dudes, and then he got the submission. So it's so much to Charles' offensive game, and he probably has the most deadly offense we've seen since like an Anderson Silva in his prime or something. That's how great his, and when I say offense, I'm not just talking striking. I'm talking about striking and ground game. Like, it's just, you don't know what's happening until it's over. And it's so complicated to deal with because there's just so much being thrown at you. And you don't have an avenue where you're safe. You take him down, you're not safe at all. He takes you down, you're not safe. Standing up, you're not safe. In the clinch, you're still not safe. He has really good knees, really good elbows. He's a tough cookie to crack, man. Now with his mental game being so top notch, he is so tough to beat. And that's why you gotta give Islam all the credit for dominating the way he did. I think Beneil Dariush was an excellent competitor. We can't downgrade this man. This man has fought his butt off, and he had an amazing win streak at lightweight, which once again is if you don't think it's the toughest, it's definitely the second or third toughest in the entire UFC. Or matter of fact, not the entire MMA. All right, 155 is so tough to even crack the top 15 because there's so many good fighters. For him to go on that win streak, we can't dispute that. Now, before we go to the main event, because I don't have too much to say about the main event, but we have to talk about Charles Oliveira and these records. All right, now he has 20 finishes, which is the most in UFC history, and the second most in all of major MMA, which is astounding. And he still has a good 3 more years left in his career where he's gonna demolish pretty much every record. He's gonna dominate the freaking wins record. He's clearly already the submission leader. He's gonna expand on that. He's also the finish leader, and I'm pretty sure he's close on the bonus finish ever too. If he's not there, he should be close. I gotta check that. But yeah, man, like, one of the most exciting fighters ever. I still think Justin Gaethje is the most exciting fighter ever. But if he's one, then Charles Oliveira is 2. I cannot wait to see this rematch. That does need to be next. And if he loses, he loses. But if he wins, we have to have a conversation about where he stacks up in an all-time lightweight division. I have him personally right now at 3. I think BJ is 2. And I don't know, I think people are kind of underrating BJ Penn now, but he's still my 2. Khabib is number 1. But Charles Oliveira is now my 3. He is number 3 all time in my lightweight list. I can understand if you have him 4 or 5, or I think 5 is the lowest you should have Charles Oliveira right now. But especially prime, you want to go prime for prime. But he can beat every single fighter that ever existed in lightweight. He can beat them. Don't mean he will, but he can. That's how dangerous of a fighter he is. But you know, I'll save this for a whole nother conversation. And I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. But let's get into the main event. All right, I'm going a little over, but it's a lot to talk about. Amanda Nunes versus Irene Aldana. That fight sucked. That fight was terrible, okay? Irene was not ready for that fight. She was, I mean, I feel sorry, man, because this is like one of those one-in-a-lifetime opportunities, and some people can capitalize on it, and some people can't. Like, we just saw Valentina Shevchenko lose to Grasso. Amanda was ready for that. And granted, she didn't look that great in that fight until she did look great. But she capitalized on her opportunity. Irene had one opportunity when she landed that hook, and then she could have capitalized right after that. She didn't. She tried to get aggressive, and she kind of got worried off. It was a very disappointing fight. It was kind of like target practice. It was a moving target. That's pretty much what it was. Not much coming back. And Amanda just had a really fun time. And yeah, that's pretty much all you can say about that fight. It wasn't too much more. I'd rather talk about the retirement. Now, Amanda Nunes is gone. I think that it's definitely the right time. You have nothing left to prove. That division is terrible, both. There's not really, not really too much left. You're going to fight Pena for the 3rd time. I'm going to be honest with you, no one cares about that fight except for Pena and her camp. And the reason why, obviously, is because that's probably the most money she'll make, making a trilogy. She has, I don't know, it gives her more opportunity than anything. I mean, bro, that fight was what, 40? What did she got, 50, 43? Like, that fight sucked. That second fight was terrible. She got beat on for 5 rounds. I felt bad for Pena. Why do I want to see that again? I'm okay. Like, we know who the better fighter was. Yes, she lost the first fight. Cute. Second fight, we saw what we was expected to see the first time. And that was pure domination. But yet still, Amanda Nunes, if you do ever get a chance to watch me or anything like that, I just want to say, big fan, amazing career. Just like I was talking about with Charles Oliveira, Amanda Nunes had a somewhat similar career where she was kind of the middle of the barrel girl with a lot of talent, but she was getting beat. Like, let's keep it a stack. Like, Amanda Nunes wasn't great right from the get-go. She always had potential, but we can't forget that she got mauled, demolished, crushed by, I would say Amanda Nunes, by Kat Zingano. Can't forget that, all right? We can't forget the fact that she's lost multiple times throughout the UFC. So the fact that she went from there, gathered herself, got into her prime, and just started raking off the best woman's resume you could ever have. Like, bro, look at the names she beat. I mean, Cyborg. That's not just beat her, knocked her out in what, 2 minutes? Crazy. Ronda Rousey beat her in what, 48 seconds? Landed 27 punches in 40 seconds? Like, what are we doing here? All right. Miesha Tate, GDR twice. Knocks out Holly Holm, which I believe is the only person to knock her out in the UFC. I mean, bro, like, whoever was in or around her weight class, she has killed. All right, you will not find a woman that has anything close to the resume she has right now. So this was the perfect time for her to retire. Happy retirement. You know, I'm super excited for what you have next. I think she should honestly probably look into being a commentator next or something, because I think she has such a fun-loving personality. We need to see more of her. She's like a version of DC where she's very fun-loving. I think people will enjoy her energy. I think that could be next. She's not the greatest in English, so she might need to join a Brazilian channel or something like that. Or, I mean, also step in sometimes with the American teams. But I do think that broadcasting is in her future because she's a very lovable person. Like, how can you hate Amanda Nunes? Like, she's so lovable. But yet and still, you know, it's gonna suck not having you there. At the same time, it's gonna be great to have new, fresh meat, better competition now that you are gone, because now the queen is gone. So since the queen is gone, a lot of people are going to try to fight for that 135-pound belt, so we'll have a lot better fights. That's just how it's going to go. It's going to be a lot more competitive because she was just sleeping, folks. And it was honestly, it was getting boring, okay? So it's good that she's gone, but also it's going to suck that she's gone. But yet still, I want to hear what you guys think, man. What are we doing next, y'all? And also, what y'all think about, you know, my record? And, you know, drop down a link or something like that, you know, just pat me some money, because, you know, I was doing all right. I'm doing all right right now. But as always, man, thank you guys for watching, man. Make sure you follow me on social media at Papa Showtime, Josh Showtime. Also, be sure to listen to me on Sundays, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 98.3 The Real in Indianapolis. You can download the iHeartRadio app and give your brother a listen, man. I appreciate all the support, and make sure y'all have a blessed day.